Since the initial release of the Alpha Kit print and plays, I've played a lot of games. A lot of games. Each new week has introduced new cards into the mix that I've analyzed, and I've been testing as often as I can to get a better understanding of the game. I've competed in a few small-scale tourneys, taught a few people how to play, and play-tested a ton of different decks out to see what works and what doesn't given the current context of available cards we have to play around with. I've decided to share some of my observations in a series of videos that I've released over these past few days, where I've ranked every current card as of June 28th. I know there'll be new cards added by the time that all of these videos are released, and I'll revisit these videos later on to add newly released cards to these lists after sufficient playtesting. This is the final installment on this mini-series of videos that I wanted to make, and in it we'll be ranking all of the program and gear cards that have been currently revealed. If you haven't already, I highly encourage you to watch the other two videos as well, where I ranked all of the legends and all of the units in the game. As with the other videos, I want to give one last caveat before we begin. This was all, of course, for a bit of fun, and this list is subject to massive changes when all of the cards are available to us. These rankings are based on how strong and how often I see these cards played in the current pre-release beta format of the game, which uses the rules that are currently available on the cyberpunktcg.com website. If you disagree with any of my placings, please let me know in the comments down below based off of the experiences you've had in your games. I'd love to hear different perspectives from a bunch of different players out there, so please feel free to share. Alright, so we're going to start this tier list off by grouping together all of the cantrip programs. For those who aren't familiar with this term, a cantrip describes a cheap and or minor spell. So we're lumping all of the 4 one-cost programs all into B tier. They're all really good utility programs, mostly centered around gig manipulation and getting you an extra card to draw in your hand. You get quite a bit of value for just one eddy. I am putting Floor at the top of these for now, as it's the only one that's played during the battle phase, and can help you win a fight you wouldn't have been able to otherwise by weakening a rival unit, so its usefulness is elevated slightly above the others in my opinion, though All Is Lost has the greatest potential to me to be completely busted depending on the type of trash pile recursion we see in this game. These cards are all solid and will be included in every deck, if for nothing else than to be sold for eddies, or pitched for Placide or something like that. Zetatech Faceplate is our first S-tier gear card. If you play yellow, you're running a full set of this card, period. There is no question that it's the most powerful gear card in the game. Not only that, but I would be bold enough to say it's the best card in the game currently, and is a staple in yellow. Moving from the best gear card in the game, we now have the best program in the game, and it's also a mandatory 3 of staple for blue, Chrome Reverie. This card is amazing. Just locking down a rival unit full stop is incredibly powerful, especially now that we have a lot of folks who like to go Voltron style and pump up their big go solo legend and swing with them. You can stop that scary 20 power Royce with just 3 eddies, and your rival better pray you don't follow this up with a Lizzy Wizzy, otherwise they're going to seriously regret not spreading those gear cards out amongst other units that they have. Next, we have Carnage at the Coliseum. A card with some of my favorite artwork for the entire game so far, and it's a good bit of removal, and I really like that it can be made cheaper to play, so it's going into A tier. Corporate Surveillance is a solid program in green, and it's nice to be able to spend a pesky blocker to attack around it, or to target one of those cheap utility units in the game and defeat them in combat. It's going into B tier because while it is a pretty decent card to use, it's just not at the same level as the cards that are higher up in the tiers. It is nice though that it can target more units than it used to be able to, so it does get some bonus points for that. Cyber Psychosis is the next card, and it's going into S tier. It's not as good as it used to be, but it is still the only true way to remove any buffed up units that the other removal cards, aside from Placide, cannot touch. This is another card like Chrome Reverie that can hard counter those decks that like to buff up a single unit to make a big attack, and because it's one of the only answers to that type of deck, it's going into S tier, because it is a very common deck type that I see being run. Next is Dying Knight, and some may challenge me on this perhaps, but it's going into S tier too. I wish it still had the gear defeating effect that it had back in the Alpha Kit, but being able to ready 2 eddies while being equipped to a V is incredibly good. Yes, it's only usable for that sense while equipped to the V card, and it's obvious that the target for it is the V Corpo Exile legend, but they pair together so perfectly. You get to that 10 power mark, which is great, and then you get to ready your resources for a follow-up play, or keep them in reserve to spring a quick effect on your rival during their turn. It's also blue's only gear card right now, so if you run blue, you're running this card, and especially now since it's easily splashable. Gorilla Arms is next, and it might be my second controversial take in this video, who knows, but I'm putting it into A tier and not S. The main reason it's not in S for me is that it's a 3 power boost instead of 4 like it used to be. Now, if it was still at 4, it'd be an S no doubt, as you'd be able to buff those 6 power units up to 10, which would be pretty crazy. Too crazy probably, which is why I understand they toned this card down from what it used to be in its first iteration. It's still a great gear card, mind you, don't get me wrong, but I think given its higher price to play and slightly toned down stats, I feel it's right at home at the top of A tier, teetering on the line towards S. Up next, I'm going to group together the 3 value gear cards we have. Mandibular Upgrade, Kiroshi Optics, and Mantis Blades all cost only 1 eddy to play and are among the most used cards in the entire game, as they're cheap to play or are good fodder for selling. Mantis Blades and Mandibular Upgrade both I'd consider A tier gear cards, as you get huge value for such a cheap cost. Mantis Blades gives a solid 2 power boost, perfect for some cards to hit that 10 power mark with a single eddy investment. Other cards like Swordwise Hustle can get to that 5 power boost it needs to hit in order to draw you cards. Mandibular Upgrade is also fantastic, as it gives any equipped unit the blocker keyword. Kiroshi Optics is the lowest of these 3, and the lowest ranking gear card in the entire list at the bottom of B tier. While it is used most commonly to buff one of those 0 power utility units up to 1 power so it can steal a gig for a very minor investment, it's not so amazing that I would rank it any higher than that. Plus, with the cost of Legends being so cheap, it's not nearly as devastating as it used to be to not call a right Legends you need to at the time, so the usefulness of this card's effect is just not what it used to be. Sandevistan is one that I've gotten a little back and forth on, and I think I've decided to include it into that S tier category instead of A. Now I know it sounds crazy because like Gorilla Arms, the power boost it gives is 1 less than it used to be, but it comes with a new effect that readies the equipped unit or legend at the end of your turn, which is outstanding. Whatever unit you equip this to immediately becomes a huge pain for your rival to deal with, as they will not be able to easily swing into it with a stronger unit since it's in the ready state. They will have to find a way to spend that equipped unit to attack it first. Not only does it make it a tough unit to pin down for your rival, but you can reuse legends equipped with additional gear cards to get more use out of them. Multiple faceplate procs, anyone? This card is very good, and I'm seeing it used more and more as people catch on to how good a self-readying unit or legend truly is. Next is Satori, who got a nice buff from before now that it gives 2 power instead of just 1, and because of that, it's going into A tier. It's a good power boost and a great card draw engine, especially when paired with Swordwise Hustle. I love using these two together because with just 1 combat, you can draw 2 cards upon defeating a rival unit. That's a huge tempo swing in your favor for very minimal eddy investment. We're looking at our second signature gear card with Overwatch. It's an expensive gear card like Gorilla Arms. This one, however, gives you 4 power instead of 3. On top of that, you get a pretty cool removal effect to instantly snipe an attacking rival unit. It's pretty badass and mechanically flavorful to snipe an attacking unit before they can hit you, and it's very satisfying to get it to go off. I've seen this card just completely wreck people, and it can be very difficult to work around. The only hope you have is your rival not having cards in hand to discard to use on the units that you're putting into play and attacking with. It's going into A tier. The Bootleg Black Sapphire Show is next, and I'm putting it into S tier. It's the only ramp card in the game and allows you to draw 2 cards on top of that, which just sweetens the pot. If you're running the most expensive units in the game, this is a necessity. Alright, so we're down to the final card up for ranking in this entire series, Take Control, which is going into B tier with a similar power and utility as the cantrip cards, as this one is pretty much a cantrip itself. It's good, though I've not seen it be used to great effect, but I think that's more to do with the unit types it targets not being so prevalent in the game just yet. B tier is a good spot for it, but in the future, who knows? So you can see here, that is all the cards for this video, and none of them are terrible. They're all at least a B tier. Maybe it's boring to not have any that I just dump all over, but I think they're all pretty solid. So yeah, With that, everyone, we have reached the end of this mini-series of videos where I rank the 66 cards that have been revealed since before I started making these videos. It's been quite an effort to get these videos ready and out in time for the holiday weekend, but I've managed to make it work. Thank you all so much for making it this far, and I hope you've enjoyed these videos. I'll be back in town after this weekend and will likely be making a video reviewing whatever new cards are revealed to us this week, and I also plan to talk about the new print and play decks that will likely be revealed by the time this video has been posted. I also plan to have some live gameplay recorded with those decks coming out down the pipeline soon, so be on the lookout for that. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of that future content. Thank you all so much again, and I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye.